Trouble at the Crossing. Percy was chuffing along one morning, pulling some trucks. He was coming towards a level crossing where a car was waiting for him to pass. Percy was slowing down, and he said hello to the man who opened and closed the gates of the level crossing. The man waved back cheerily. But the driver of the car stood up and shouted at Percy. "Get a move on, you silly engine! I can't wait here all day," he called, and he shook his fist angrily. This rather surprised Percy. He was not used to people being so rude. He said nothing and hurried away down the line, leaving an angry man behind him. Percy arrived back at the yard, still looking upset. Gordon saw him and asked, "What is the matter with you, little Percy? What has happened to that cheeky Grim?" Percy told Gordon what had happened. "A nasty man in the car shouted at me to hurry up at the level crossing, so I did as fast as I could." "Huh," said Gordon. "Running away like that is no good at all. You really should have told him to mind his manners. I certainly would have done." Later that day, Gordon set off pulling his train. At the level crossing, he saw the man in the car on his way home, again waiting for the gates to open. "Now I will see if he dares say anything to a fine engine like me," thought Gordon. As his driver shoved steam, Gordon glared at the car. Sure enough, the man stood up in his car and said, "Get out of my way, you great big blue kettle!" Gordon's driver was so surprised, he forgot to release the brake. Gordon stopped. "Great big blue kettle, I will have you know that I am a fine engine, the fastest on this railway," he said. "Well, you are not going very fast now," shouted the man, as Gordon's driver struggled to get steam up. "How dare you talk to me like that?" continued the man. "I will have to speak to your controller." Gordon snorted. "If you are in a hurry, you should travel by train," he said grandly as he moved off, leaving the car in a cloud of steam. Later that day, the Fat Controller told Gordon off. He had heard all about what had happened. "You are a bad engine," he said. "Never be rude to anybody, whatever they say to you." Edward heard about the Fat Controller telling Gordon off for being rude to the man in the car. Later, Percy told Edward all about the man at the railway crossing. "Gordon was right to say you should not have run away, Percy," said Edward. "But I'm afraid I think your way was even worse, Gordon. You see, it is always best to be polite, especially to rude people. It calms them down so that things get better and not worse," said Edward. The next day, Edward was pulling a train towards the level crossing. He saw a car waiting and guessed it was the same one that Percy and Gordon had met. As Edward slowed down, he said, "Good morning," to the man who operated the gates and to the car driver. The car driver stood up and started to shout. "Not another stupid slow engine! Hurry along out of my way, will you?" "I am very sorry," said Edward. "I only wanted to wish you a good morning." The car driver looked confused. He went rather red in the face. "Oh, very well then. Off you go. Goodbye," he said, and sat down, looking the other way. Edward pulled his train over the crossing. He was just getting up steam when he heard the driver trying to start his car, but the motor would not work. Edward's driver shoved steam for a moment and turned to see if the car would start, but it would not. He called out, "Excuse me, but would you like a lift?" Thank you very much." Yes, I would like a lift," said the driver. He went rather red again and quickly climbed into one of Edward's coaches. Edward chuffed cheerfully down the line to the station. At the station, the car driver said, "I am sorry I was rude to you and the other engines. You have shown me that it is better to be polite." "Well done, Edward," said the Fat Controller. "You are a really friendly engine."